Before I tell you what happened next, have you ever been humiliated in front of everyone, forced to smile, laugh, and pretend it didn't hurt? Because that's exactly where I was. My birthday cake smashed into my face, frosting mixed with blood, while my sister leaned back, laughing like I had just performed some ridiculous stunt. Everyone around us cheered or shrugged, saying, "It's just a joke, don't overreact." Their laughter didn't soften the sting. Not the sharp humiliation. Not the fact that I had always been invisible in my own family. The way I existed only when convenient. Before I explain how it unfolded, tap like if you've ever felt overlooked, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Maybe share if you've ever protected someone and still been blamed while everyone else cheered for them. My name is Isabella and I'm in my late 20s. For most of my life, I've been quiet, underestimated, the one everyone assumed would just take it and stay silent. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I simply sat up, wiped the cake from my eyes, and let everyone else react first. Watching. Not breaking. That day, I learned something important. Patience is far more powerful than rage, and silence can speak louder than any argument. Even as my sister smirked, the room oblivious to the sharp edge of what had just happened, I noticed everything. The cousins who laughed too hard. The subtle ways my family excused her. The frosting-stained gestures, careless and exaggerated. Every smirk. Every careless laugh. Every "it's just a joke" would become part of something much bigger. The day stretched on, and everyone assumed I had lost. They assumed I'd stay quiet. But I was already planning. I watched my sister boast, recounting the funny moment over and over. She exaggerated every detail, smirk growing with each retelling, completely convinced she was untouchable. I stayed quiet, letting her arrogance build. Letting her show the world how careless, confident, and careless she could be. Every laugh, every motion, every exaggerated wink she gave to the cousins or friends was being recorded, not literally, but in my memory, in my mind, where it mattered most. By lunchtime, videos of the cake incident had spread across our family group. She was the star. I was the invisible target. Everyone laughed, posted, and commented. She had won the room. Or so she thought. I noticed the small cracks she didn't. The slight hesitation in someone's laugh. The way a few friends' eyes flicked away too quickly. The subtle doubt that no one else seemed to see. Then the pain started. Sharp, unexpected, spreading through my arm and shoulder. I bit my lip, keeping my face neutral. My sister noticed nothing. Everyone else waved it off, stopped being dramatic. For a moment, I let them believe they had won. Let them feel the satisfaction of thinking the quiet one had been defeated. It felt like defeat. But beneath that quiet, I felt something else. A hidden advantage. A leverage no one, not even my sister, could see yet. By the next morning, my sister was already replaying the funny moment in her mind. She bragged to cousins, friends, anyone who would listen, exaggerating every detail. Her laughter rang louder than ever, a confident, careless arrogance that made her feel untouchable. I stayed quiet. Observing. Patient. Every smirk, every careless gesture, every "it's just a joke" was etched in my memory. Breakfast was another display of her confidence. She mimicked my fall, jokingly smearing imaginary frosting across her face, as if performing for an audience that had already declared her the winner. Everyone clapped and laughed. My family joined in, subtly excusing her behavior. "Stop being dramatic," they told me. But I didn't move. I didn't react. I only watched. Later, the videos of the cake incident had spread. She was the star of the group chat, everyone sharing memes, laughing, replaying the scene. She believed she had conquered me. Yet, I noticed the tiny cracks. Some cousins' laughter faltered. A few friends' eyes darted away too quickly. Subtle doubt flickered across faces no one else seemed to notice. Pain spread in my arm and shoulder, sharp and unexpected. I kept my expression neutral, breathing calmly, masking every wince. My sister noticed nothing. No one else did either. For a brief moment, it seemed I had lost. Everyone assumed the quiet one had been defeated. But beneath my calm exterior, a hidden advantage was forming. Every careless laugh, every exaggeration, every overconfident boast my sister made became part of my strategy. I was quietly collecting evidence, mental notes of gestures, words, and witnesses, storing them in a silent ledger only I could read. I watched her social media posts too, her casual bragging about her victory. Every detail she shared, every smile she flaunted, added pieces to a puzzle she didn't even know existed. Even the way she talked to my family, the subtle manipulations, the little half-truths, all contributed to a larger picture she couldn't see. I smiled faintly to myself. Calm. Controlled. I didn't need to gloat, argue, or react. Because the most dangerous power is the one that goes unnoticed. She built her empire of arrogance, completely unaware that each brick she placed was secretly strengthening my leverage. By evening, I allowed myself a quiet thought. Her overconfidence would be her undoing. And while everyone believed she had won, I was already planning my next move. The quiet, patient observer has the advantage. The one who notices everything, reacts to nothing, and waits, ultimately holds the power. By now, my sister thought she had everything under control. She laughed freely, retelling the cake incident over and over, exaggerating every detail for anyone who would listen. Each laugh, each smirk, each boast made her feel untouchable. No one, not even my family, had any idea what I had quietly prepared. Because while she flaunted her victory, I had already begun turning her arrogance into leverage. Every careless movement she made. Every boast she let slip. Every exaggerated retelling of the funny moment. All meticulously observed. All quietly noted. The X-ray from the ER, where the doctor's expression went from concern to alarm. Every word he said, every question he asked. Every detail recorded in my mind. I hadn't shared a single thing with anyone yet. Not a word. I let the truth exist quietly, just below the surface. And here's what the audience knows, but my sister never suspected. She had built her empire on assumptions that I was powerless, invisible, silent. Every laugh, every careless boast, every overconfident gesture she made became a building block in my strategy. The legal advice I had quietly obtained, the documentation I had filed, the subtle moves I had planned, all of it was invisible to her. She didn't even realize that her own actions were creating the evidence I would need. Even the friends and family who had laughed at her jokes or shared the videos, each witness, each reaction, each subtle confirmation of her arrogance, were quietly adding to my advantage. She believed she had the room, the story, the control. But in reality, she had created her own trap. Every boast she made, every exaggeration she repeated, was another thread in a web she didn't even know she was weaving. And I was at the center, calm, observing, knowing every piece, every detail, every mistake she had unknowingly given me. Because the calm, patient observer always sees more than the reckless, arrogant actor ever will. She was completely blind to the power she had handed to me. And the moment I chose to reveal it, the effect would be irreversible. While everyone else assumed I had lost, while they all cheered for her, I quietly held the leverage that would turn the room upside down. I smiled faintly to myself, the secret advantage secure, my patience intact, and the anticipation of the inevitable reversal simmering quietly beneath the surface. I began quietly, almost invisibly. No one knew I was planning. Not my sister. Not our cousins. Not a single friend who had laughed at her careless arrogance. Every detail mattered. Every gesture, every exaggeration, every overconfident boast she had made became a building block in my strategy. I revisited the ER records. The X-ray that had made the doctor freeze. The words he had whispered to the nurse, barely audible, but forever engraved in my mind. I documented everything. Every video she had shared, every post she had bragged about. Every subtle hint she had given of her overconfidence. I mapped it all out. Step by step. Carefully. Patiently. I knew that patience was my greatest weapon. Every move she had made in her arrogance was now a piece of evidence, a step closer to a public reversal. And I waited. I chose my timing meticulously. Not a word spoken. Not a gesture wasted. Every document, every note, every plan kept securely hidden, invisible to everyone else. Days passed. My sister continued her streak of overconfidence, unaware that every action she took was feeding my plan. She boasted at family dinners, laughed at videos, mocked my supposed weakness, all while unknowingly strengthening my position. I observed, noting every weakness, every overreach, every moment she thought she had control. And then, I began to prepare the setting for the public reversal. I chose a moment when the same crowd that had celebrated her victory would be present. The same family members, the same friends, the same witnesses. The anticipation built quietly in my mind. Not with anger, but with a calm, deliberate focus. Every small detail would be exposed at the perfect moment. I reviewed the legal advice I had quietly received. The subtle moves I had made to protect myself. The documentation of her reckless arrogance. All of it ready. All of it invisible to her. Every smile she flashed, every boast she made, every careless motion, all would work against her. I rehearsed nothing aloud. I spoke to no one. I simply prepared silently, letting her continue her careless overconfidence. And as the day approached, the tension I had carefully built was nearly palpable. The audience, the family, the cousins, the friends, would be present. And the stage was set for the moment when her arrogance would collide with reality. Because the most powerful reversals don't rely on rage or confrontation. They rely on patience, observation, and intelligence. By the time the public reversal arrived, she would be completely unaware of the storm quietly brewing around her. And I would stand there, calm, collected, unshaken, letting the truth unfold exactly as I had planned. The day arrived. The same room. The same people. The same witnesses who had cheered her victory weeks ago. She entered, smiling, confident, completely unaware of what was about to unfold. I stayed calm. Controlled. Every detail I had observed, every piece of evidence I had quietly collected, every moment she had unknowingly given me, the time for patience had ended. The conversation started casually. Family chatting, laughing. My sister began recounting the cake incident again, exaggerating, boasting. Her friends joined in, laughing, echoing her arrogance. And then I spoke. Not loudly. Not angrily. Just enough to draw attention. I think you missed something yesterday, I said softly, letting the words hang in the air. Her smile faltered. A flicker of doubt. She looked at me, confused. I slowly reached into my folder, the one she had never seen. Documents, videos, photos, notes, everything that proved her carelessness, her exaggerations, her arrogance. Remember the ER? I continued. The X-ray the doctor couldn't ignore? The one showing the actual injury. Whispers spread through the room. Eyes widened. My sister froze. I calmly laid out the evidence. Each careless boast she had made. Each exaggeration she had told. Each motion she had performed without realizing it was being recorded, noted, and documented. Her friends tried to interrupt, laughed nervously, but I kept my voice steady. The doctor's note. The X-ray images. The legal advice I had sought quietly. All lined up in front of everyone who had believed she was untouchable. Her face turned pale. The room went silent. Do you even understand what all this means? I asked softly. She opened her mouth, tried to speak, but no words came. Everything she had built on arrogance collapsed. Every laugh she had shared, every boast she had made, every casual motion that had gone unnoticed, had turned against her. Her friends, cousins, even some family members who had cheered her on, now looked at her with shock and disbelief. She had created her own downfall. And she didn't even see it coming. I stayed calm. Controlled. Observing. Not gloating. Not angry. Simply letting the truth speak for itself. Her arrogance had blinded her. My patience had outlasted it. And as she realized the scope of her defeat, her world quietly crumbled in front of everyone. No one could deny it. No one could spin it. Her collapse was public, undeniable, irreversible. And in that moment, I understood fully, intelligence, patience, and calm observation were far more powerful than any display of rage or drama. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shame her. I simply let the truth reveal itself and watched as the consequences unfolded naturally. The room had shifted. The power had quietly returned to me, unchallenged, unbroken. I stepped back. The room still buzzed with shock, whispers, and stunned silence. My sister sat frozen, her arrogance vanished, replaced by disbelief. Her so-called victory had crumbled under the weight of her own carelessness. I said nothing. Not a word. No gloating, no anger. Just calm, collected. Because the most powerful victories don't need noise. They need patience, observation, and intelligence. I glanced around at the witnesses, friends, family, everyone who had cheered her arrogance. Their expressions had shifted. Respect, realization, a quiet acknowledgement of what had truly happened. And in that silence, I found my own closure. I didn't need revenge to feel satisfaction. The truth, calmly revealed, had done all the work. I walked away, unchanged. Stronger, unshaken, and confident in the knowledge that respect and patience outweigh loud displays of power. Some lessons are loudest in their quietest moments. And this one? This one would linger in their minds far longer than any moment of arrogance ever could. Because the calm, intelligent observer always sees more, waits longer, and prevails quietly.